Hey people, welcome back to the channel. This is a story in which Naruto meets Kurama in the land of waves and they have a mutual friendship. In this story Naruto shifts toward his mother's side as a Uzumaki seal master. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy the video. Leave a comment if you want to suggest fanfic. Check the description for credits and support the creator of the story. So let us begin. Chapter 32. Troublesome times. It had happened so slow and then all of the sudden so fast. Naruto laid in bed, in the Hokage mansion, reflecting on the events of the previous day. Despite nearly being killed by a mob of about 100 angry villagers who had finally snapped, it was without doubt the best birthday he had ever had. It was on that day that he learned that there were people who truly cared for him. Tsunade Bachan, Kakashi-sensei, Iruka-sensei, Konohamaru, Teuchi Inuyame Ichiraku, and Hinata. Thinking on that last name sent a few tingles through his stomach as he recalled what Hinata had said to him yesterday. All this time, she had known. She had known the reason why the village hated and shunned him, yet she had felt the complete opposite of what most of the village had felt about him. She loved him and she shamelessly admitted her love to him while defending him from the pack of ravenous villagers. No one had ever said that to him before. Ever since the Chunin exams, Naruto had been developing something for the young Hyuga. At first, he thought it was just the two of them becoming good friends. Until last night, that's all he ever thought those feelings were. It was last night that he realized as well that the way he felt for her had changed over time as well, with most of that change occurring during the time they spent together while tracking down Tsunade. He had gotten a chance to actually get to know her better and realized that there were many things that he liked about her, from her desire to get stronger to her desire to protect those precious to her. These were a few qualities of her personality that Naruto held the highest. And then last night, it finally hit him. After all the teasing by Ero Sennin and all the pushing by Kurama referring to Hinata as his vixen, it dawned on him that she saw him as more than a friend and wanted them to be more than just friends. The only things that had stopped this from happening were her shyness, causing her to never come forward, and his own thick-headedness, for not noticing the hints she was giving off sooner. Back in the academy, he had imagined that it would have always been Sakura who he would end up with. However, since their time together on Team 7, Naruto was beginning to notice that Sakura wasn't exactly the person he was looking for. Sure, he figured they would still be great friends, but he had this feeling that their relation was heading a different direction. It was almost as if he had been looking towards her as more of a sister. Besides, she was still all gaga over Sasuke. But now, he had Hinata. And she had actually cared about him for years. It had all happened so fast, yet slowly at the same time, that he couldn't help feeling like a complete loser for not noticing sooner. Continuing with his reflection on the previous day, there was one other thing that was on his mind. He reached over to the table next to him and grabbed the blue book that Tsunade had given him as a present for his birthday. It was about the same size as the books that Kakashi had always read, yet this one wasn't filled with perverted smut. No, this book was filled with the most wonderful thing in the world, a guide to the very best ramen shops in all the shinobi nations. Naruto flipped through the book, looking at all the places he would be getting the special bowls of ramen from. In total, there were 50 different ramen shops located throughout all the nations, both great and minor, that were featured in that passport. 7 of them were located in the Land of Fire, including his hometown favorite Ichiraku. He was wondering what heavenly dish Teuchi had concocted that had made its way into this passport. Now, there was a decision that was tearing him apart. Should he go to Ikiraku's first? Or should he save the best for last? Beep, 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 went Shikamaru's alarm as he struggled to even motivate himself to turn off the alarm. However, even he knew if he didn't turn it off, it would just keep ringing. What a drag. Asuma-sensei had called an emergency team meeting that morning. So much for his plans of sleeping in on his day off. He met up with the rest of his team at Training Ground 16, the official training ground of Team 10. Ino and Choji were already there, looking impatiently at their lazy teammate. The two of them were sitting on top of training stumps as Asuma motioned for him to take a seat next to him. So you mind telling us what this is all about? Asked Shikamaru. I want to go back to bed. Asuma sighed at the enthusiasm displayed by the sole Chunin of Team 10. Last night, an incident occurred, he explained. This incident involving two of your former classmates and also your former sensei. Wait, does that mean Iruka-sense? Asked Ino. Asuma nodded. But who were our classmates? It was Naruto Uzumaki and Hinata Hoiga, said Asuma. No one was surprised Naruto's name had come up, but Hinata, well, that was surprising. Last night, the three of them were attacked and nearly killed by a drunken mob of civilians. The reasons behind this are still unknown, but we believe that it was due to a significant amount of alcohol and potential drugs in their system. Tsunade-sama and the medical teams are looking into it, but those have been the findings of the preliminary results. What? Exclaimed Choji. Are they alright? Naruto and Hinata are fine, just a little shaken. Iruka is in the hospital, but he had nothing more than a few minor knife wounds and a broken arm. Explained Asuma. He took a look around to his team. They appeared to be buying the cover to the real reason why Naruto was attacked. Unfortunately, this got Shikamaru thinking. Why would a mob of drunken villagers attack Naruto? Sure, he could be annoying at times, but there really was no reason to. So why did the mob attack Naruto? Shikamaru would have to look further into this, but figured it would be too troublesome. Around the teams of the Rookie 9 and Team Guy, everyone was informed of the incident that had taken place last night. The only ones who had gotten the truth was Team 7 because they already knew about the Kyuubi, and Hinata because she was directly involved in it. Everyone else received the same version to the story that Team 10 had gotten. Over the course of the day, Naruto had been approached by most of his friends from said teams, all wanting to see if he was alright. Sure, they looked upon Naruto as annoying and loud at times, but each and everyone had a reason why the blonde troublemaker had begun to grow on them. No one could quite understand the reason why he was attacked, but they figured they would try to comfort him at least. Team 7 had met at their training ground after Naruto had managed to sneak away from the mansion where he had been cooped up in for the past few days. It was now 2 days after his birthday and this was the first time he had ventured outside the tower. Over the past few days, he had received visits from Shikamaru, Ino, Choji, Kiba, Shino, Haku, Sasuke, Sakura, Hinata, and a few other ninja in the village who had begun to respect the blonde. If anything, the fact that he did in fact have friends looking out for him meant a lot. Flashback, he was even approached by Neji, who shocked him by apologizing for all the stuff he had done in the past to Hinata and him and that he wanted to start from the beginning to become a better person. Neji acknowledged the fact that perhaps Naruto could become Hokage, but only if he worked hard at it, which Naruto only reassured him that he would. After some talking, Naruto realized that Neji was sincere in his apologies and his new intentions and as such decided to give Neji another chance in his books. This didn't mean they were best of friends, but it was at least something to start with and gave the two a sense of newfound respect towards one another. However, Naruto relived his conversation with Hiashi when Neji promised the same thing, hurt or dishonor Hinata and Naruto would be dead in an instant. End flashback. Getting back to the meeting at hand, the first order of business was to ensure that Sasuke had his summoning under control. Out of 10 attempts summoning, Tora was thankfully not amongst the 10 cats summoned. Kakashi deemed it safe for Sasuke to use his jutsu in combat as he showed decent control over the cat that he wanted to summon. As it stood, the most powerful feline that Sasuke could summon at the moment was a lion by the name of Riko. It was also during this meeting that Sakura and Sasuke admitted to Naruto that they had no idea that 2 days ago was his birthday. They had not known until Kakashi had told them yesterday. Regardless, the two chipped in their money to get Naruto a late present and it was the only thing they could think of in the short notice, a gift card to Ichiraku. This was not like the card that Hinata had given him years ago, but it had enough on it for a week's worth of ramen, or at least a meal's worth for the amount Naruto ate. They had managed to ask Naruto if he had gotten anything else and Naruto pulled out the 2 books he had gotten, the Jutsu scroll Jiraiya had given him and the 2 knives as well. Kakashi saw the knives and felt something tear at his heart. He reached back into his kunai pouch and felt around for the tri-pronged knife that his sensei had given him as a present for making Jonin. He found it, but didn't take it out, not wanting to reveal anything yet. The knives that Naruto had were exactly like the ones the Yondaime had used, with the exception that there were no Hirishin seals on it. Naruto showed his team what was so special about the knives as he tried to channel some wind chakra into the blades. They reacted well to the chakra, and a blade of wind, roughly a foot in length, erupted from the knives. It wasn't a fine blade as his wind chakra wasn't fully refined, but it was fine enough to serve its purpose. Oh, and Arrow Sennin gave me this as well, said Naruto, pulling out a jutsu scroll. Kakashi was really wishing Naruto hadn't done that. So sensei, now that I have the cat summoning down, what's the next jutsu you're going to teach me? Asked Sasuke. Yeah, come on sensei, what jutsus do you have for us? Said Sakura, butting in. What are you going to teach me, Kakashi sensei? Is it time to learn Chidori? Asked Naruto, still not giving up on the Chidori. Enough, shouted Kakashi, using Iruka's big head jutsu. He couldn't take much more of his team's constant nagging. This was one reason they didn't teach genin that many jutsu, let alone nature manipulation. If they did, then all the genin would be going head over heels like his were asking for jutsu after jutsu. Sasuke was understandable, coming from the Uchiha clan where the fire nature manipulation was taught to them at a young age, but Naruto, why did he have to let Naruto go on a training trip with Jiraiya? Because of that, it only made Sasuke and Naruto determined to one-up the other by learning a new jutsu. Not to mention, Sakura was starting to get a little antsy as well. Kakashi sighed, giving in to them. He turned to Sakura as she would be the more reasonable of the three. Alright, come back after lunch and I'll have something for you and Sasuke, said Kakashi. Hey, what about me? Shouted Naruto. Naruto, said Kakashi, smiling and pointing at the scroll. In Naruto's hand. You already have one. Naruto looked at the scroll in his hand and just laughed a little. Naruto proceeded towards the next training ground over, which was Training Ground 8 and the resident training ground of Team 8. The same team that Hinata was on. Arriving over at the training ground, he noticed that Team 8 was just finishing up their morning workout. He hid in the trees, figuring that he would just wait for them to finish up. After about 15 minutes of waiting, Kurenai called an end to her team session. Hey Hinata, Shino and I are going to grab some lunch, you want to come? Asked Kiba. No, I'm fine, responded Hinata. Alright, well then see you later, said Kiba hesitantly as he turned around and walked away. However, a glance was sent towards the tree that Naruto had been hiding out in. He wasn't the only one who noticed another presence in the tree. Team 10 wasn't a tracking team for nothing. Shino probably knew, but he didn't really say anything. Before taking off, Kurenai turned towards Hinata and just gave her a gentle smile. Now Hinata also turned towards the tree that Naruto had been hiding out in. Eep. Naruto had jumped out of the tree, landing right in front of Hinata, startling her a little. Naruto. What are you doing here? She asked. Well, I was just wondering, well, said Naruto, finding it hard just to say a few simple words. Why was it this hard? He had asked Sakura out many times and there had always been the near guarantee of rejection, but with Hinata it was a bit harder. Do you want to get some lunch? Why you mean like a date? She said, still unsure if everything that had happened between the two of them in the past few days had been a dream or not. No, not like a date. A date, said Naruto, causing Hinata to blush a little. I mean, I didn't ask your father if we could date for nothing. Sure, I would like that, Hinata said, letting out little smile. Now the only question was where to go. Jiraiya had told Naruto not to take Hinata to Ichiraku that much. Even though it was his favorite place, it most likely wasn't hers. But this date of theirs wasn't anything special. It was just the two of them having lunch together. He then remembered that Hinata had a rather large sweet tooth and they headed towards the dango shop, located near the middle of town. Walking through town, Naruto still received some stares from the village that had unnerved Hinata at first, although she saw how he just simply shrugged them off and quickly went from following behind to walking alongside him. However, she still held her hands in front of her like she normally did. Why am I still so shy around him? I told him everything the other day and he seems to like me as well. Why can't I just open up a little more around him? Hinata thought to herself. As such, she took it upon herself to drop her hands from where they were in front of her, to her sides. Suddenly, she felt something brush up against the side of her hand and instantly went red, realizing it was Naruto's hand. Naruto felt the same thing as well. Realizing that her hand was right next to his, he decided to try something out that he would see a lot between couples. He reached out with his hand and grabbed her hand, causing Hinata to suddenly tense up, but she relaxed and her bright red blush turned to that warmer rose-colored blush from a few days ago. The two enjoyed their lunch together. Naruto didn't even mind that it wasn't ramen that he was eating, besides he would stop by Ikiraku's later for dinner. At least everything was going fine until Naruto felt a chill run down his spine. Well, if it isn't the brat from the Chunin exams, said a woman with purple hair, mesh shirt, and a long trench coat. She then turned her attention to the girl sitting next to Naruto, getting a grin on her face that spelt trouble. She plopped herself down opposite from them, even stealing a stick of their dango from in front of them. Hey, what was that for? That wasn't yours, objected Naruto. Enko just smiled as she engulfed the stick of dango. Oh, relax you. Besides, it's not every day that I see a new couple come in here. The two of you are dating, right? She asked as she began her interrogation. Both of them stiffened as Enko sent them a devious look that most of the villagers and other shinobi knew to stay away from. Well, yeah. Weak kind of her, replied Naruto, obviously intimidated by Enko. Everything was going just fine. Why did the creepy lady from the exams have to show? Enko's attention turned to Hinata. While arguing with Naruto would have been entertaining, she always enjoyed messing with a Hoiga. It was almost like a hobby of hers and she was practically considered a plague around the Hoiga compound. So Hinata is it. Seems you have yourself a boyfriend now. Now tell me, why do you still wear that bulky jacket? Surely there has to be something underneath it that made this kid notice you. Hinata tensed up even more, as she desperately looked for a way out. Hey, can't you see you're making her uncomfortable? Shouted Naruto, trying to get Enko to stop. Oh, and what are you going to do about it, she replied. If she's not going to say anything, maybe you will. So come on, tell me. What is she hiding underneath that bulky jacket of hers? What is she like? Naruto could see Hinata turning even redder. It was only a matter of moments before it looked like she would explode from embarrassment. Naruto knew what she was talking about, having spent too much time around Ero Sennin already. Are all adults perverted? He thought. So are you going to say something? Come on, so what have the two of you done so far? You can tell me, Enko said, pushing her way closer to Naruto as he was forced to retreat back towards the wall. Have you two kissed? She asked. Seeing Hinata go even redder and Naruto tense up as well, she got her answer. Oh, and how was it? Now tell me, did anything happen after that, well. That was it, Hinata was out as she fell into unconsciousness. Seeing this, Naruto knew he had to get away. Gah! Get away from me, you creepy lady, he shouted as he picked up Hinata and raced out of the shop. That actually went pretty well. She laughed as she claimed her prize, the plate of dango that the two had left on the table. I'm going to have to mess with them some more. I've got a feeling they will be fun. Impressive, I didn't know the brat could be scared off like that, said a man stepping behind her. Enko let out a little laugh. You just gotta know how far to push them. Now that I know, things are going to get interesting, said Enko. So tell me, how did a kid like that convince Zabuza Momoichi, the demon in the hidden mist, to join Konoha? Naruto was running as fast as he could, wanting to get away from that crazy lady, Enko. He had an unconscious Hinata on his back. Turning a corner, he ran into something nearly as bad as Enko, Neji. What made things even worse was that Naruto couldn't stop in time and crashed into Neji, sending Neji flying back and Naruto crashing to the ground. Hinata went crashing down as well, but fortunately for her she had a soft Naruto to break her fall. Naruto, what's the meaning of this? Said Neji, activating his Byakugan and getting ready to beat Naruto should he answer wrong. It's only been 2 days, now what have you done to Hinata-sama? Neji, nothing. We were just trying to get away from the crazy purple-haired lady from the Chunin exams, explained Naruto. Crazy purple-haired lady, Enko, said Neji, scanning around to make sure Enko wasn't around. When he saw that she wasn't, he deactivated his dojutsu. It was at this moment that Hinata began to wake. Naruto, she said, still lying on his back. Picking her head up, she saw her cousin. Neji-Nisan. Hinata-sama, I came to find you. Your father is requesting you at home for training, informed Neji. And shouldn't you be training as well, Naruto? Well, Kakashi-sensei sort of gave us a break, and knowing him, he won't show back up at the training grounds for at least another 2 hours, explained Naruto. Hinata got up, allowing Naruto to get up as well as the two were facing each other. I'm sorry this little date of ours didn't go as well as I had hoped, apologized Naruto. And no, it's fine. I'm just glad I got to spend some time with you, replied Hinata. Well, I guess I'll have to take you on a more proper date than just a lunch date, said Naruto, giving her his typical big grin. Hinata perked up at this, realizing that there was more dating ahead for the two of them. Now she wasn't wishing Kurenai had informed them of an upcoming mission, and a rather long one for that matter. I would like that, maybe when I get back from the mission we are leaving on tomorrow, said Hinata. Okay, how long do you think it will be? Kurenai-sensei said it will be a few weeks, Hinata said, trailing off on that last part. What? A few weeks? Said a now slightly depressed Naruto. Oh well, at least that will give me time to plan. Ribbit. Hinata and Naruto looked down to see a small toad that looked just like the one that Jiraiya had turned that villager from the other night into. In its mouth, it was holding 2 pieces of paper. Naruto pulled out the paper and the toad disappeared in a puff of smoke. These papers were obviously from Ero Sennin. Taking a short look at the papers, a tear came to Naruto's eye as he handed one to Hinata. They were the picture that Jiraiya had taken of the two snuggling against one another on the couch in Tsunade's office. For Hinata, this had to be a dream, one that she was determined not to wake up from. Caught up in the moments, no one realized that they were being watched by more than one party. Why that little? Who does he think he is? He can't just go around like that with Hinata. Along with a deep growl came from the bush where the first party was hiding out. Oh my, are those two really dating? Came from the rooftop where the second party was hiding out. Although, now that I think of it, they really do look cute together. I wonder if Sasuke and I will ever be like that. What am I thinking? Of course we will. Not even Billboard Brow will be able to stop true love. Suand was shifting through papers on her desk. The mission loads were piling up and Konoha was kind of short on staff, not have fully recovering from Orochimaru's little invasion. Unfortunately, for the next few months at least, teams assigned to missions would most likely consist of mixed groups. Also, some considerations would have to be taken into account when forming teams for certain missions. For D-ranked missions, only Genin would be assigned them. C ranks would be comprised of Genin with a Chunin or two as well. B ranks would have Chunin and maybe a Jonin. A normal team of a Jonin and Genin may be assigned to A-B rank should the situation be appropriate. A and S rank missions would be for Jonin and Anbu only. In fact, she was even considering adding a few of the more menial D-rank missions as community service to the academy curriculum. This would allow the village to maximize in profit for these missions while giving the students a chance to build upon teamwork while still in the academy. She picked up a C-rank mission scroll, detailing a joint mission between Konoha and Suna. Ever since Suna sought to reconcile for its actions, joint missions like this were suggested to help strengthen the hopefully growing bond between the two villages. There was a village located in the river country, about halfway from the borders to the land of fire and the land of wind that had been suffering from numerous bandit attacks and kidnappings over the past few weeks. The reason this mission was classified C rank was because the only believed threat was a few bandits with the strongest of them having skills equal to a low-ranked genin at most. Also, from the looks of the description, this mission would last at least a few weeks, giving her a solution to one problem. Shizune summoned Shikamaru Nara, Naruto, and Neji Hoiga, ordered Tsunade. After the previous night, she would have rather summoned Hinata, but her team had been assigned B rank and would be leaving tomorrow. Normally, such a young team wouldn't be given a B rank mission, however this was a tracking mission and Team 8 was one of the best tracking teams that had come along in years. Besides, for the given mission that she was sending Naruto on, Neji would be just fine and a Hoiga on investigative missions like this was also strongly desired. Chapter 33. Joint mission. It was getting late in the afternoon and Naruto was making his way to the normal spot for dinner, Ichiraku. Unfortunately for him, tonight's date with Ramen wasn't destined to happen as he was approached by Shikamaru and Neji in the middle of the street. Naruto, the Hokage has summoned us, explained Neji. Naruto's stomach protested violently as he followed along. The ramen would have to wait. The three of them stood in front of Tsunade's desk, waiting for her to tell them why they were there. Come on Tsunade-bachan, what sort of mission do you have for us now? Asked Naruto. A vein nearly popped in Tsunade's temple. She could handle the bachan comment in a more private scenario, but with other ninja present, it just wasn't appropriate. Tsunade took a deep breath, calming herself before addressing the team standing in front of her. Since the invasion by the Sound and the Sand, there have been efforts to reforge the ties that have been broken between Konoha and Suna. We are beginning an initiative to perform joint missions where each village sends a team and the two teams work together to accomplish the same goal. However, these missions will only involve affairs that are not directly related to the security of the other village. The mission I am assigning to the three of you is one of the joint missions. The three of you are to rendezvous with the Suna team in the village of Takanabe on the morning of October 16, 3 days from now. Your teams will then proceed to the village of Ojikana where recent bandit activity has taken a serious increase. Your mission will be to determine the problems caused by these bandits and once that is done, eliminate them. What kind of bandits are we talking about? Asked Shikamaru, wanting to gather as much necessary information as possible. From the reports we received, these bandits have little to no shinobi training, with the strongest being no more than low genin in skill. A team consisting of a chunin and 2 higher skilled genin should have no problems here, not to mention you will be receiving support from Suna. Suan Bachan, who is Suna sending anyways? Asked Naruto. Once again, Tsunade cringed slightly at the Bachan part. I do not know exactly for sure, but they will only send a 3-man team, with no one above the rank of chunin, explained Tsunade. Now, before you are dismissed, this is an important mission in terms of the impact it could have on the relations between our two villages. I expect nothing less than your best and full cooperation with the Suna team. Shikamaru, you are assigned as team leader. Don't worry Bachan, you can count on us. Tsunade was getting pretty close to the breaking point, sending a slight death glare towards Naruto. Dismissed. Now get this brat out of my office before he says the word. Bachan. Again, barked Suan as Neji dragged Naruto out by the collar of his jacket. Now, Kakashi had been late before but this was just getting plain ridiculous. It was around 1 o'clock in the afternoon when they were given a break for lunch, which would last until 2 o'clock. For Team 7, this would mean that Kakashi wouldn't show up until 3 o'clock or even 4 o'clock. However, it was nearly 7 o'clock in the evening and Sasuke and Sakura had been waiting for hours for Kakashi to show up with the new jutsus he promised. Finally, they gave up and went back into town, figuring that sitting around wasn't getting them anywhere. It was getting dark as well and Sakura knew her parents would be wondering where she was, considering today wasn't a mission day for her. Hey guys, so what sort of jutsu did Kakashi-sensei give you? Asked Naruto, who ran into them on the way to finally get his ramen. Sakura and Sasuke gave Naruto a good long stare. And where have you been this afternoon? Picking up some of Kakashi-sensei's habits already? Asked Sakura. Naruto looked at her with a confused expression on his face. Well, Bachan kind of gave me a mission and I just got back from the equipment store, explained Naruto. Wait, you have a mission? With who? Asked Sasuke. He was now wondering why Naruto had gotten a mission by the rest of them hadn't. Yeah. It's me, Shikamaru, and Neji. We leave tomorrow for a town known as Takanabe Town in the Land of Rivers. I don't know, sounds like there has been a lot of bandit activity there or something, explained Naruto. Sasuke simply nodded, now hoping he would get a mission as well, hoping it would give him a chance to test out some of the improvements he made to his taijutsu after the training with his own shadow clones. Takanabe Town, I've heard that name before and just recently. Naruto suddenly realized what it was that he was talking about and reached into his back pouch, pulling out the dark blue book that was his ramen passport. He flipped to a page and there it was, Takanabe Ramen, one of the 50 ramen shops that had some sort of special ramen dishes. He was really looking forward to this mission now, considering that Takanabe town was less than a 2-day journey, for ninja anyways, which he happened to be one, and he would easily be able to stop there the night before they were supposed to meet with the Suna team. Upon hearing their teammates' cheers, Sakura and Sasuke nearly faltered and a familiar laugh was heard from behind them. Haku. Naruto and Sakura shouted in unison. This was the first time in over a month that they had seen their fourth teammate. From the stories they had, he and Zabuza had been away on a mission during that time. Despite being assigned to Team 7 and Zabuza made a chunin of the village, hopefully a jonin with the upcoming jonin exams in a few months, the village had quickly acknowledged the bond between the two former Rouge ninjas. It's a good thing I found you so soon. Tsunade wanted us to report to her in the morning for a mission, explained Haku. By them, he meant himself, Sakura, and Sasuke. Naruto had already been given a mission. Unfortunately, this meant that they would have to wait on getting their new jutsu from Kakashi. For Haku, Sakura, and Sasuke, their mission was to travel to a gold mine, just on the northern border of the Land of Fire, and to guard a shipment of gold ore as the caravan traveled from the mine to the refinement facility, about a 2 days' journey away. As it stood, most of Naruto's friends, including himself, now had their own set of C-rank missions that they were expected to handle without the help of their senseis. Team 8 had actually been assigned a B rank, although they were accompanied by their Jonin sensei, and Naruto was hoping Hinata would be alright. Seeing as this was their first time together in a few weeks, the 4 members of Team 7 went to the barbecue restaurant that Haku had really taken a liking to. It was beginning to seem like he would eat there almost as much as Choji, although the quantity of food was nowhere near Choji level. Shikamaru, Neji, and Naruto set out late in the morning, after the 2 genin on the team were forced to drag Shikamaru out of bed. Unlike Naruto, who had to deal with this type of behavior from Kakashi, Neji was not used to a late member of his team. As a Hoiga, he had been taught that punctuality was an important virtue to have. Also, he was used to Gai-sensei having more energy than Naruto at times, if that was even possible. However, it wasn't until Shikamaru's mother came and dragged him out of the house that they were finally able to be on their way, earning a few snickers from Naruto and possibly a smile from Neji. The first day's journey was rather uneventful, with the group stopping to set up camp just before dark. Being Shikamaru, he decided to turn in early so that he could manage to get plenty of sleep, leaving Neji and Naruto to man the camp. Neji decided now was the time to discuss a few things with Naruto. Naruto, I want to say that I am glad that you and Hinata-sama are together, he said, initially catching Naruto's attention. However, I have to warn you to be careful. Huh. Oh, don't worry. I won't do anything dishonorable, if that's what you mean, replied Naruto. I wish that was it. I wish the only thing the two of you had to worry about was my uncle, but sadly that is not the case, replied Neji. What are you talking about? While I don't know why, you have never been looked highly upon in my clan. It's surprising that my uncle even allowed you to train with Hinata in the first place. However, there are those in the main branch, particularly the elder, that would strongly oppose any sort of relationship you have with Hinata-sama, explained Neji. Naruto knew why the elders didn't like him. It was the same reason most of the villagers didn't like him, the Kyuubi. My uncle is doing his best to keep the elders at bay, otherwise they would have had their way with Hinata-sama years ago. What do you mean by their way? Naruto asked, picking up on the ominous tone in Neji's voice. Neji looked down and untied the headband on his head, revealing his curse mark. You don't mean? Yes. For years, the elders have felt that she was unworthy and wanted to just brand her into a branch house immediately. However, the fact that Hinata is the oldest and the current heir is mainly what had prevented them. They have been trying to convince my uncle to name her sister, Hanabi, as the heir, but Hiashi-sama has yet to actually choose the heir. And in reality, he doesn't need to make the decision until Hinata turns 16. So why doesn't he just name Hinata the higher and stick it to the elder's face? Asked Naruto, growing slightly more irritated. Because, if Hinata becomes as officially named the clan heir, then Hanabi-sama gets branded, said Neji, causing Naruto to tense up. If it's really that bad, then I'm determined more than ever to change your clan when I become Hokage. Datbeo! Exclaimed Naruto. Neji just shook his head. By the time you become Hokage, it will be too late for one of them. By then, either Hinata or Hanabi will have been branded. Besides, my uncle is already looking into a few ways to change the clan already. He has always been against the clan in terms of some of its ancient traditions, and just recently, he has begun opposing the practice of the branding. However, he holds little power in the clan over the sealing of branch members. The only people he has control over are Hinata and Hanabi, and he can only choose one to not be branded. In other words, he's buying for time, said Shikamaru, coming out of the tent. Apparently, Naruto's yelling had woke him up. What do you mean? Asked Naruto. Neji on the other hand, nodded with Shikamaru's deduction. He has until Hinata turns 16 to make the final decision on who will be the clan heir. Shikamaru is correct, he's trying to buy as much time as possible, said Neji. Naruto still didn't fully understand and asked Neji why. Neji pointed at his seal. As of now, this seal is impossible to remove. It is so ingrained into our brain that even the slightest modification to the seal could leave us permanently disabled or dead. What? Said Naruto, a little in shock. He wasn't fully aware on what Neji was talking about, however he had overheard a little on the complexity of the brain from Tsunade when she was waking Sasuke and Kakashi. Hearing that only resulted in him having a headache. However, he knew at least that the brain was incredibly complex and something on this magnitude couldn't be good. As of now, the only way to remove the seal is through death. I have already told you that, said Neji. Naruto thought back to his fight against Neji, back when Neji was still a prick with a stick shoved up his ass. However, there is hope. This was something Naruto had never thought he would hear Neji talk about, although it was strangely comforting. Before I say anything, please promise me not to tell anyone. The only others who know about this are my uncle and your teacher, Jiraiya-sama. Wait, what does Ero Sennin have to do with this? Asked Naruto. Jiraiya-sama was my uncle's teacher and he is the greatest seal master known in the shinobi nations. Before you and Hinata-sama left to find Tsunade-sama, my uncle gave Jiraiya the sealing formula for the caged bird seal and asked him to find a way to remove it without harming the bearer. I have hope that one day he will succeed and the clan will truly change. If you want to help change my clan, then help your master find a way to remove the seal. Once that factor is out of the question, then real change can begin. But wait, if you remove the seal, what would stop them from putting the seal on you again? Asked Naruto. Neji thought for a moment. There exists an ancient law in the clan that states that the heads of the clan are to be the strongest shinobi in the clan. This led to the implementation of the clan challenge, where any member of the clan could challenge one of the heads, either clan head or elder, for their position. While the elders and my uncle are considered the strongest in the clan, the main reason they have not been challenged is because of the seal. What does the seal have to do with this clan challenge thing? Asked Naruto. The last time the challenge was issued was about 8 years ago. I was only 5, but I remember that horrific event all too well, said Neji, preparing to tell his story. The challenger was a member of the branch family by the name of Rajo. He was tired of the servitude forced upon the branch families by the main branch. One afternoon, about 2 days after his first child was born, he approached the elders, asking for them to not to seal his newly born son, at least not until he was older. The seal has been known to cause complications if placed on a person less than 3 years in age. The elders simply laughed at his request and his son was branded the following evening. About a month later, the child died from complications most likely due to the seal. Naruto was at a loss for words, even Shikamaru was listening and was stunned as well. Neji continued. The day following his son's death, Rajo issued a challenge to Moriko, one of the elders of the clan. If he could win, then he would be able to take Moriko's position as an elder of the clan, making his family now part of the main branch and the fear of being sealed would be ended. But wait, you said the seal couldn't be removed, wouldn't Rajo still have the seal if he had one? Asked Shikamaru. Wouldn't that make it easy to manipulate him? Yes, but there are specific rules that the clan had set up with the village in this case. Basically, it was against the law and punishable by death if a main family member ever used the seal against another main family member, said Neji. All Rajo would have to do is go to the Hokage. If by chance he were killed before he was able to inform the Hokage, a very thorough investigation would have been conducted and the ones responsible would have been caught. However, Rajo did not win. The challenge was set for 1 week from the issue of the challenge, giving the two time to prepare. The day that the challenge was to be held, Rajo and Moriko met in the arena set up by the clan. The rules were simple: fight until one either dies or gives up. Their fight began and Rajo started off, showing even more determination than you did on the day we fought, Naruto. He quickly gained the upper hand, easily overpowering Moriko. Many of the branch members were on their feet, believing that the day would finally come that the oppressiveness of the main branch would come to an end with Rajo as one of the elders. However, before he could deliver the finishing blow, Moriko made the hand seal and activated Rajo's seal. After a few minutes of screaming in unbearable pain, Rajo dropped to the ground, dead. No one has issued a challenge since then, afraid that the seal would be used against them and they would lose, no matter what. Silence was heard throughout the camp. No one speaking a word as Neji's tale came to an end. Inside his head, Naruto could feel his inner demon's rage boiling over. To win a battle such as that using cheap tactics like that, was just plain sickening. Even amongst demons, there was honor. In the situation Moriko was in, if he was a demon, he would either concede and flee or allow himself to be killed, not activate some disgusting seal. He was already plotting the Hyuga man's demise should Naruto ever give him the slightest chance to. Shikamaru was thinking. I see. So if that seal can be removed, you or another branch member can challenge for the position of clan elder in the main branch and not have to worry. Yes, that is correct. My uncle is aware of this as well, and it is part of his plan to loosen the elders' grips on the dealings of the clan, said Neji. Naruto looked at Neji with some slight confusion still. You need not worry, but just know that it was because of the elders and their policies that my clan is in the state it's in. Naruto got that determined look in his eye. Well, if that's the case then, I'll find a way to get rid of that seal and then you can show those damn elders who's boss. After that, we'll be able to change the clan for the better. Datbeo. Neji smiled. Thank you, Naruto. Nothing more was said that night and the three turned in, continuing on their way in the morning. They were less than a day from Takanabe town and they would be most likely arrive just in time for dinner. Naruto already knew where he was going, Takanabe Ramen. Before leaving, he had triple-checked that he had the passport on him and he was finally going to taste one of those special dishes. The night before they left, Naruto had made up his mind and informed Teuchi of his decision to save Ichiraku for last as it was customary that the passport was put on display at the ramen shop where it was completed. As soon as they reached town, a faint aroma of ramen hit Naruto's nose and he darted off towards the location of the stand, leaving Neji and Shikamaru behind. Naruto arrived at the shop. It was about 3 times larger than Ikiraku's and it was packed. Thankfully, Naruto found a seat next to a brown-haired man, probably in his mid-20s, at the ramen bar. I'll be with you in 1 minute, kid, said the chef as he places a bowl in front of the man that he had just sat next to. Taking a look at the man, Naruto made out the grass headband. Naruto's attention was then directed towards the bowl of ramen placed in front of the man. Naruto could make out what looked like white truffles and some other mushrooms in the ramen. However, after taking a whiff of the aroma from that one particular bowl, Naruto was practically mesmerized by it. Hey mister, said Naruto, tugging gently at the man. Huh. Hey, what do you want? Can't you see I'm trying to enjoy my ramen? Asked the man. Yeah, but I just wanted to know what was in there, said Naruto. I could tell you, but it doesn't mean you will be getting any, said the man. Huh. Why's that? Said Naruto. Because, you need one of these, said the man, holding up a blue book that Naruto instantly recognized. So that was the special dish of this stand. Oh, you mean this? Said Naruto, pulling out his own passport, nearly causing the man to choke on his own ramen as the shop owner just laughed. Well, I'll be 2 in 1 night. Normally it's rare to see 2 every couple months, but 2 in 1 night, so I guess you're here for the Matsutake truffle ramen, said the head chef. Is that your special dish? Asked Naruto. It is. The same this gentleman next to you is enjoying. The man sitting next to him had gotten over the initial shock of seeing Naruto's passport and had begun indulging himself. Just looking at him, you would think the man had just found heaven. He was in pure bliss as he slurped down the ramen. The climate around here is rather moist and mushrooms are common sights in the forest. These white truffles and the matsutake mushroom, however, are the rarest and most delicious. The dish I'm preparing for you contains both of them, along with some other mushrooms and spices to enhance the flavors. Geez Naruto, only you would go running off towards a ramen shop, said Shikamaru as he and Neji tracked down their estranged teammate. Shikamaru was going to complain more, but it would have been too much, not to mention his stomach had also begun to protest and the two remaining leaf ninja quickly found themselves sitting next to Naruto as they ordered a bowl of ramen as well. The time finally came when the chef set the bowl in front of Naruto. Before doing so, he checked the legitimacy of Naruto's passport, finding it to be real and in Naruto's name. The bowl was placed in front of Naruto's face and his first instincts were to inhale the entire contents of the bowl, however, something in his head was stopping him from inhaling it. It was telling him to savor this delicacy and eat it slow, something Naruto was still unfamiliar with. Hey kid, first thing you have to do is take that white truffle and put it on a plate. That is the last thing you want to eat as that's the best part, explained the man sitting next to him. And sorry for acting rude earlier. It's just something about these dishes. You get others nagging at you for a taste. That goes against everything these dishes were set aside for. Only the most dedicated ramen connoisseurs could truly enjoy them, not to mention it's just plain annoying. Naruto accepted the man's apology and did as he was told, removing the single white truffle that had been placed in the bowl and setting it to the side for the end. He took a few noodles and a piece of the matsutake with his chopsticks and took his first bite. He could die right now and he wouldn't care. In fact, he could let the Kyuubi out on a rampage through the village and he wouldn't care. The ramen was just too damn good for him to care about anything else at that moment. Naruto ate the remainder of the bowl slowly, savoring every bit of flavor that flooded his system. Then finally, the time came. Naruto finished off the remaining broth and moved on to the final part, the white truffle. He picked it up with his chopsticks and rubbed it around in what little broth was still remaining in the bowl and then went to eat it. The sweetness from the truffle perfectly balanced out the spices from the ramen, capping possibly the best bowl of ramen he ever had. If this was what the special bowls were like, he really couldn't wait to see what Teuchi had concocted that had found its way into the passport. The chef handed Naruto back his passport with a stamp of the shop logo on the page and a small picture of Naruto taking his first bite of the ramen. He hadn't even noticed the camera as he was too distracted by the wonder that was ramen. Surprisingly, that one bowl had managed to fill him. He was known for eating over a dozen bowls before being filled at Ichiraku, but this one bowl had done it for him. Naruto prepared to pay the man for the bowl, but his money was turned away. Apparently, it was customary for the first bowl at each of the 50 shops to be free. After that, they would be able to buy any further bowls, although they would be expensive. The matsutake truffle ramen was about 5,000 ryo per bowl itself. The following day was the day they were supposed to meet up with the team from Suna. Naruto, Shikamaru, and Neji made their way towards the determined meeting place. As they got closer, Naruto could feel Kurama starting to tense up. Something was irritating the fox and as the Suna team came into view, Naruto realized what it was. Hello trouble, said Shikamaru as he spotted the Suna team as well. In front of them stood Gaara, Temari, and Kankuro, the same trio that they had met during the Chunin exams. Temari tensed a little seeing Naruto with them. She recalled the fight in the forest between Naruto and Gaara and how Naruto had taken on a shroud of demonic chakra that was strangely similar to that of the Shukaku's chakra inside her brother. Sorry we kept you waiting, said Neji, trying to be the first one to initiate conversation. That is quite alright. We only got here a few minutes ago. In fact, we were worried that we were going to be late, replied Gaara. It was odd to both Naruto and Shikamaru. There was no killing intent coming from Gaara at all. In fact, he was completely calm and even Kurama had picked up on this. Had something happened to quell the Ikibi? Both teams were on their guard, weary of one another as they proceeded to the town in the north where their mission was supposed to be. Finally breaking the silence, Temari spoke up. So Shikamaru is it? She said towards Shikamaru. The lazy Chunin just nodded. I see you made it out of the exams as a Chunin. Man, what a drag. I didn't want her to be here, he thought. You know that was never my intention. Temari looked at the Nara with confusion. If I had it my way, I would never have even taken the exams. I just wanted a normal ninja life and to play shogi. But then my sensei made my team take the exams and the next thing I know, I'm facing you in the finals. About that, you had me beat. Why did you just give up like that? She asked. I told you. It would have been too troublesome to have any more fights, said Shikamaru. Besides, apparently that one fight was enough to make me a chunin. On the bright side, at least I don't have to take those exams again. The teams reached the village of Ojikana late that afternoon. The first thing was to go to the village council and determine the situation. From the reports given by the villagers, bandits would normally come in late at night and kidnap them. To date, around 11 children had been kidnapped. There hadn't been any ransoms for the children, so the villagers had no idea what had happened to the kids. Their only plan was to wait and see if any bandits would come along that night and try to kidnap one of the children. Shikamaru thought for a moment, eventually coming up with a plan. There were 3 roads out of the village and 6 of them. This meant that there would be 2 people assigned to each village exit. Now, Naruto had the ability to use shadow clones and he understood how they functioned. They decided to have Naruto make a mass of clones and have a clone stationed at each house where the kidnappers might strike in a clone with each group to inform them when the bandits struck, as the clones' memories would be transferred back to the remaining clones. He stationed Naruto and Gaara at the north gate, Neji and Kankuro at the west gate, and Temari and himself would take the south gate. The east side of the village was up against a fast-moving river, so it was unlikely bandits would come from that direction. However, Shikamaru would rather be safe and figured Naruto could spare a few more clones to guard the river and any holes in the outer perimeter. Now, Shikamaru didn't want to catch these bandits right in the middle, he wanted to catch them at wherever they were holed up with hopes of finding the hideout where the missing children were. It was getting dark and everyone took their place as the Naruto clones transformed into random inanimate objects to disguise themselves. Naruto himself was a little nervous having to be paired up with Gaara, as Kurama had been complaining for the past few hours about having to deal with Ikibi, although Gaara was showing no signs of that demon's bloodlust. Naruto, can I ask you something? Said Gaara, catching Naruto's attention. Naruto nodded, wondering what the fellow Jinchuriki had to say. You have a demon sealed inside you as well, don't you? Yeah, the Kyuubi no Kitsune, said Naruto. What of it? You have the Ikibi sealed inside you, don't you? Gaara nodded. Your demon, does it ever talk to you? Asked Gaara. Well, yeah, although he can get annoying at times, we talk, said Naruto. Kurama protested at the annoying comment. I see. Is he like the Ikibi? Asked Gaara. Naruto didn't quite get what he meant. Gaara thought for a second. After that day where we fought, I've been thinking about something. Ever since I was young, I was alone. The only one who would talk to me was the Ikibi, and I slowly began to look at it as my mother. I killed for it and survived for it, thinking I was doing this for myself. What I'm trying to say, the Ikibi has been manipulating me since I was young. Has that ever happened to you? Has the demon inside you ever manipulated you to do something you regret? Huh. Does that mean you regret what you've done? You regret killing all those people? Asked Naruto. Gaara just nodded. Ever since that day, I've been thinking that maybe there was a different way to live. Perhaps if I tried to get people to see me in a positive light, like the people you told me about, perhaps I can finally feel what it's like to live, said Gaara. Ever since then, I've been trying the best I can to block out the Ikibi and listen to my own thoughts. Naruto kind of smiled like this. Gaara wasn't a monster. The Ikibi made him the monster everyone thought he was. Then Gaara spoke again. So tell me, how do you block your demon's influence out? Naruto looked down. Unfortunately, he couldn't give Gaara the answer he wanted. I don't really know what to say. The Kyuubi, Kurama I mean, and I get along rather well. We joke around, we laugh, we make fun of each other. To be honest, I actually see him as a friend, said Naruto. Gaara looked at him in shock. A friend? Yeah. I'm not really sure what to say, but he approached me one day and the two of us made a deal. Basically, I would help him kill a certain person and in exchange, he would help me, said Naruto. Gaara thought. This person the Kyuubi wants dead, who is he? What is he like? Naruto thought for a moment. His name is Madara Uchiha. Gaara looked up, surprised at the name. Even in Suna, that name was known and feared. However, Madara was supposed to be dead. Neither of us understands how he would still be alive, but we know he's alive and he's responsible for much misery that has been brought upon my village. I see, Gaara said, comprehending everything Naruto had said. So you're saying the Kyuubi doesn't try to manipulate you? No, not really, said Naruto. That was pretty much true, unless you count trying to hook him up with a certain vixen. Kurama did have a hand in pushing the two of them together. Naruto, do you think there's hope for me then? Do you think I will ever have a friend? Asked Gaara. Huh. Naruto was shocked by this new Gaara that he was facing. The cold-blooded killer was gone and what was left was a lonely boy desperately trying to find a friend. He was sincere in changing himself for the better. Well yeah, everyone needs a friend. Hey, if you want, I'll even be your friend. Commence with idiot mode, thought Kurama. He didn't want to be associated with the Ikibi, but there really wasn't anything he could do to stop Naruto from being, well Naruto. You will, said Gaara. Yeah, and I'm sure your brother and sister would be your friends if you just tried. I mean, that's all you really got to do. Show them that they are important to you and they'll become your friends in no time, said Naruto getting a smile on his face. Naruto suddenly zoned out as a memory came to him. Gaara noticed the slight change in his expression. They're here, said Naruto as one of his clones relayed a kidnapping to him. All around the village, every other Naruto clone got the memory coming to them and the ones that were stationed with the rest of the team got the same memory. The kidnappers were in motion. Were you followed? Asked a man, standing next to two others. The bandit that was carrying a child shook his head, indicating that no one was following them. The three masked men just nodded and took the child that had been abducted. It was a young girl, approximately 3 years in age. She'll do just fine for our purposes. A dozen children, just what Orochimaru-sama wanted. What the hell does that snake bastard want with children? Shouted Naruto as the 6 ninja entered the cave. After taking a close look at the man and his 2 accomplices, the 6 Suna and Konoha recognized them. The 2 in the back were Zaku and Kin, while the one in the middle was Yori. From the looks of it, Zaku had gotten a new pair of arms after Shino had blown his old arms off. Yori turned to the bandits. You said you weren't followed. I didn't know, staggered the bandit. For them not to realize that they were being tailed meant that the bandits must not have been that good. If any of them had any ninja talent at all, like the report suggested, then they must have been academy washouts. The only ninja here were Yori, Zaku, and Kin. Examining the cave, Shikamaru saw cages containing 11 children. The unconscious child that was in Yori's hand made number 12. All the children that had been kidnapped were accounted for. Now all that was left to do was eliminate the 3 sound ninja standing in front of them. Unsurprisingly, Naruto was the first one to charge at them, knocking Yori in the stomach as Gaara's sand caught the child, gently cradling it and slightly surprising everyone else that he was actually using the sand to do something other than crush a body. Zaku growled at the intruders. Decapitating airwaves, he shouted, shooting a blast of sound waves from his hand. HMPH, was all Tamari said before pulling out her fan. The gust she created was more than enough to knock back Zaku's attack. Kin grinned and shot some of her Senbon, hoping to catch one of them in the face, or at least in a genjutsu. The Senbon hit their mark, nailing Kankuro in the eye, or at least that what she had thought. Kankuro's face began to crumble away, revealing it to be just a puppet as the real Kankuro stepped out from the bandages. Shadow Possession Jutsu, shouted Shikamaru, as his shadow lashed out at the 3 slightly dazed sound ninja. They were too slow to dodge it and were now regretting the lighting present in the hideout. Neji. Gentle Fist. 8 trigrams, 64 palms, shouted Neji, assuming the 8 trigrams stance. The resulting attack was enough to cripple the 3 sound ninja and caused Kankuro to cringe a little as he remembered the Hoiga he had to face in the preliminaries. You guys really didn't get much better since the Chunin exams, did you? Asked Naruto with a cocky look on his face. Hey, wasn't there another one? Dodo or Dosi, what was his name? Dosu, corrected Shikamaru. I might have killed him, said Gaara, causing everyone to take a few steps backwards. The villagers were waiting at the gate of the villagers when a mob of orange quickly descended upon their village. A dozen Naruto clones, each carrying one of the kidnapped children, passed through the gate as the villagers cheered. Following closely behind were the remaining ninja, prodding the 3 sound ninja along. After everything settled down, Shikamaru sent a request to the Hokage, asking for an Anbu team to pick up their prisoners. Encased by Gaara's sand, they weren't going anywhere anytime soon. The only question left was, why did Orochimaru want a dozen children? Surely Ibiki would be able to get some answers. Ga. Speaking of Ibiki, there were pleasant sounds of pain-filled screams coming from his office, torture chamber, as he worked his way through the angry mob that had almost killed Naruto, Hinata, Iruka, and Teuchi. So far, he had been able to compile a list featuring the names of just over a dozen leaders of this cult, 100 or so names of members, and another 100 of names of villagers who supported them, but didn't do anything, except not even question their actions. Yaj. Another sound was heard as one of the villagers had their leg twisted in a direction it should not normally be able to go. About 3 days later, an Anbu team finally arrived at the village to pick up the sound prisoners. It was now time for the Suna and Konoha teams to return to their respective villages. Over the past few days, Naruto had spent some more time with Gaara, trying to figure out if the red-headed Jinchuriki was really trying to change. He was. Gaara had truly taken a note from their fight and he was actually trying to change himself into something other than a cold-blooded killer. It would be hard, especially with how Suna viewed and feared him, but if Naruto could find someone to be his friend in Konoha, then he was sure Gaara could find someone in Suna. Once Gaara had that one person, it was only a matter of time before he had as many people behind him as Naruto did. Thankfully for Shikamaru, there had been a shogi table in the village to keep him preoccupied. He tried playing a game with Naruto and Neji, but they offered him no challenge. Temari on the other hand, while he still ended up winning, he hated to admit that she was pretty good at the game. At least that was enough to stop him from cloud watching all day. Naruto. Gaara said, turning to the Leaf Genin as they prepared to part ways. That boy that I fought in the exam, the one with the green clothes, how is he? Temari and Kankuro looked at Gaara, slightly shocked by their brother's concern. Neji also caught this and tensed up a little. Since the exam, he had gained much more respect for his teammate, Lee, and was hoping that he would come out of his slump soon and take Tsunade up on the surgery, even if there only was a 50% chance of survival. While he was no longer a firm believer in fate anymore, he was sure that it was Lee's fate to become a splendid ninja and Lee still had a lot of tasks to accomplish. Thanks to you, his fate is uncertain, said Neji, some harshness could be sensed in his voice. Gaara thought a moment. Then for what it's worth, tell him I am truly sorry and that I hope he gets well soon. He was a worthy opponent and I would like the chance to fight him again should he recover. This had not been something the two Suna siblings had expected out of their brother. This also confirmed it for Naruto. Gaara was truly looking to become a better person. Do you think he can actually resist the Ikibi for so long? Asked Kurama. Gaara. Yeah, I honestly think he can. He just needs someone to believe in him, replied Naruto. Fine, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, for now. But if that damned raccoon ever starts to manifest itself again, then I'm gonna be kicking some tail and you're not stopping me. About a 2.5-day trip later, the team consisting of Neji, Naruto, and Shikamaru found themselves in the Hokage's office, giving her the report. It was troubling that the sound was somehow involved in this, but another team would be sent to investigate further into that, once Ibiki managed to get some information out of the captured sound ninja. Naruto left the Hokage's office after turning in the D rank he had been assigned. It was a simple supply restock mission, and he had been assigned to it solo. On his way out of the tower, Naruto caught sight of Shino and Kiba making their way through the streets. It had been nearly 2 weeks since Team 8 had been dispatched on their mission and the fact that those two were standing there meant that Hinata had to be back. Hey guys, Naruto greeted them. Shino responded with a simple greeting, but Kiba only turned his head away. Hey, have you seen Hinata? PFHT, what does the dead last like you want with her anyway? Shouted Kiba out of nowhere as he turned his head and looked down. What's got your tail in a knot, dog breath? Besides, who is it that you lost to in the preliminaries, replied Naruto. Shino instantly stepped between the two of them. Naruto, she's in the hospital, said Shino, instantly causing Naruto to worry as he darted off towards the hospital. Shino turned towards Kiba, who did his best to avert his teammates' look, but Shino could easily pick out a bit of regret and shame in Kiba's face.